Hope family. It's great to be on here with you again. I'm Connie Jones. Been with Steve and Wendy and the Igniting Hope team for, gosh, as a staff member going on, this is my 9th year, and being just a follower and a lover of this message and Igniting Hope Ministries for 11 years now. And I am on here joined today with Stephen Keller. Stephen is one of our Backland Leadership Academy students. He's in his 2nd year, but he has a whole history of just following the Lord, following the plan of God for his life. So much victory and wisdom and wealth that is coming out of this man. So, Stephen, thank you for joining us. I'm so happy you're on here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, I would love for you, just as we're getting started. So let me just say this. We're going to be talking about faith-filled decision making. So as many of you know that have been watching this already and following our students, we are going through all of Steve's 8 leadership pillars, and we've invited our students to take one of the pillars and just kind of commit the year to really releasing that at a higher level. And so Stephen has taken this one, faithful decision making. So Steve, I'll ask you to just tell a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just jump right in.
Absolutely. Married to my wife, who everyone knows and loves, Samara. We live here in Reading. We came here so Samara could finish Bethel School. And, we've been entrepreneurs our whole married life. Also expecting my 3rd granddaughter in March. Very excited about that. But, as an entrepreneur, man, so many decisions to make all the time. What business to do, what not to do. And then, all businesses solve problems, all entrepreneurs have problems. So you're constantly making a huge amount of decisions and fixing problems and constantly confronted with a little bit of chaos and an uncertain and unpredictable future. And so without the skill set of how to make good decisions and how to solve problems, man, it's like, just go work for the post office or something, because you're going to suffer. You're going to really suffer as an entrepreneur. So,
That might have just set a whole bunch of people free right there.
really not everyone has to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay.
Right? It's like, you don't have to do that. It's like, if you're wired to work for somebody else, do that.
Yes. Okay. Let me just say this, because if we have time, I think I want to come back to this question, because I do feel like there's so much pressure on people that they have to be an entrepreneur, that the real life is leaving their regular job, working for somebody else, and the real life, the real successful life, is launching out and doing your own thing. And so I just love that you just said that, because I really feel like there's people who are called to launch and to serve problems, or just to solve problems that way. And then there's people who are called to serve and to come up underneath another business or ministry or whatever. And it is just as successful. It's just actually making the decision that's in front of you, what you feel called to do.
Yeah. I don't make a good employee. Just, I don't.
That could be it. Some of you that you feel like, I'm just not a good employee, this could be part of that for you, is maybe you're an entrepreneur.
That could be.
Something
Yeah.
in your heart. So, okay, well, let's dive into this. I want to ask you this question. Let me see. Let me find. Okay. You often teach that good decision making starts with identity, not information. Share a little bit about how being firmly grounded in where our values come from. Okay, let's just start there.
Yeah, so the most important question people need to be able to answer in life is, where and how do you get your value? And it's the most important question, but it's a question people have allowed them to come to a conclusion unconsciously, right? So the most important question of where you get your value is people just accidentally come up with a solution for that. Most people you might not realize it, but most people believe their value comes from how well they're performing, or how people are treating them, or how institutions are honoring them. So then you're extremely vulnerable, right? Because that goes up and down, super stressful. If you can rewire your identity to understand that God bought you with the price, and the buyer always determines value, and you don't have to intellectually grasp that, but you do have to agree with it, right? So once you agree with that, that your value is set in stone, then that's not up for grabs. Then a lot of things come into play. You have a lot more peace in your life, but for decisions and solving problems, you can be much more wholehearted. And um, people who research people, what they know is this: is if I interview you, say you're 90 years old and you've had an amazing life, and I interview you, one thing I know that will show up is that you've led a wholehearted life. What does that mean? Man, it's like you've gone for it. Like, man, I'm going to go for it. And the only way you can be very wholehearted, either in decisions or in entrepreneurial ventures or whatever, is if your value is founded on unconditional love. I can really go for it. I'll still fail, but no longer will failure be able to put guilt and shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I can't make a wholehearted decisions, I pull back, I hesitate, I'm not confident. Man, it messes with your ability to make decisions.
Yeah.
And follow through with them, right? And it's not going to turn out well. The other aspect of identity and making decisions is if I have to, despite evidence or outside circumstances, I have to return that my fundamental original design,
Yes.
right, is that I was made in God's image to have a deep and intimate connection and relationship with Him, and that He's gave me His own Spirit to lead me and guide me into all truth. Then I've been offered all the wisdom I need,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that I am created to rule and reign and to create things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So even if, then if that's true, right? If I have emotions of freak out, hesitation, the emotions and the thoughts running through my brain going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, right? I won't allow those emotions or thoughts to inform my identity. I'll view them as like, oh, that's a weird thought. But I
Yes.
know I know how I'm actually made, right? So
Yeah.
that's silly, right? And then I can not let my experience of maybe having made a bad decision or my experience of feeling overwhelmed define me.
Mm-hmm.
I go, well, that's temporary, and that's not in alignment with my identity.
Yeah.
And then I can believe, oh, it's probably easy for me to make a good decision.
Yes.
Then if I believe that, then I can start speaking and creating it with the words out of my mouth. Like, oh, I make beautiful decisions. And you're like, Steve, what decision are you going to make? The right one. Yep. Well, when?
Yeah.
At the right time, of course. It's
Yes.
going to be awesome. See, right.
Okay. So what you're talking about, I mean, it's one of my favorite things to talk about, but for so many people, I mean, there's people that they have lived decades not even realizing, how do I even know that I am not basing my decisions in identity, or that how do I even know that I'm even dealing with the right identity? So like we're like, could you back it up a little bit and talk, how do we recognize, how do we know that we are making decisions or trying to make decisions on a false identity? So where that, like when we're
Sure.
dealing with stress and overwhelm and pressure and insecurity or all these different things, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. But
Yeah.
I believe that, as you say, I believe it's in identity and knowing who we are. I also believe that, I love that you bring up our original design. We're created in His image. We're His sons and daughters, repurchased by the blood of Jesus. And so decision making should be like one of the easiest things we do, because we're not making it alone. I mean, we've got the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the host of heaven. But how do we start that journey on, yeah, just unpack
Sure.
that a little bit.
So here's a very easy way to recognize it. If you look at uncertainty and unpredictability, you look at a situation, you look at life, and there's a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability. There's no sequential step. You're not sure how it's going to turn out. Pay very close attention on the emotion that produces in you. Okay.
Okay.
Understand that there's aspects of our God-given design that are designed to help us and keep us safe, but they're the default mechanism. And your nervous system default mechanism is that when there's uncertainty or unpredictability, that your nervous system subconscious wants to steer into the we're about to be homeless ditch. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. You know, and so here's the thing to understand. There's two different ways to go through life. You can think and act like an orphan, or you can think and act like a child of God.
Okay.
Right. So when I look at uncertainty, unpredictability, and chaos, and it produces in me overwhelm because I'm not sure how I'm going to handle and fix it. And if I can't fix and handle it, then I'm in big trouble.
Right.
That's only an orphan mentality.
Can you stop for
Right.
just a second? Tell a little bit about what an orphan mentality is for someone.
Well, I'm on my own. My value is dependent on my performance. There are many institutions, other people who have authority over me, can tell me what I can do or not do, can tell me my value, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
never any peace because you just don't know what's going to happen. You're certainly not confident of the future. And
Yes.
if there's chaos, this is like a big problem. The only way for me to relax is to have 5 sequential steps for the next 10 years of my life that I'm absolutely know I can handle. And then I feel safe because my value is dependent on how this turns out. Right. And I've got no outside help. Right.
Okay, that's so good. Thank you. I know for some of us, that's a term that we use a lot, and some people haven't heard that term. So
Sure.
please,
No,
okay.
it's good to clarify that.
So the only
Right.
two ways to move forward in life is as an orphan mentality or a
Son, a daughter of God. It's here's a little better analogy. To think, the princess, there's a lot of things that she doesn't really worry about.
yeah, true.
Right. Appropriately so. Like if we were going for a horseback ride and you're Princess Connie, the king's favorite daughter, and your horse lost a horseshoe, and I stare at you, I go, well, what are you going to do about that? You're like, about what? I go, I'm confident you suck at blacksmithing and shooting horses. I'm really confident you aren't any good at this. So I think you're in big trouble. You're like, oh, that, Steve. It's actually quite simple. What you do, you take the horse and you put it in the stall, and when you come back in the morning, it's fixed. I'm like, well, how does that happen? You're like, I have no idea. Like, you should really figure that out. You're like, no, no. Yeah, I've found that if I concern myself with these things, my father is not very pleased with me because he has other things for me to do. Interesting. Is that appropriate? So if you look at the princess's attitude, is the emotion of though she should take responsibility and figure that out? Because you think she should act like a slave or servant or an orphan.
It's so good.
And that's how you're thinking too. You're like, oh, Jesus said, look, I'm in the Father and I'm in you or in you and me, and we're supposed to do everything together. And most people are like, oh, it's better if I handle it on my own. And if worse comes to worse, I'll pray about it and ask God for help. But when I'm like barely hanging on, see?
That's so good. Okay, we have
Yeah.
a here in Reading, and he says, I heard him say this, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, and it bothered me so much when I heard him because I did not realize that I had been living my whole life with an orphan mentality. I had to figure it out, I had to do it all, and I had to prove my worth. I
It is
didn't
super
understand.
sneaky.
Oh, it is. It's terrible.
It's,
But he said, in the river of God, there are many bests. And I remember, and he was talking about, it was in response to somebody asking a question about the one, the elusive right one for you, but what happens if that one decided they didn't want to be that one? And all of a sudden now you're doomed to have a life without a happy marriage because the one didn't make it or got hit by a bus. It's like, and he said, no,
like God the Father and God the Son are in heaven going, oh,
we didn't see that
no.
coming.
What happened? I don't. Do you have a different plan? I don't have. I don't think this is fixable. It's very sad.
But I found out in that moment, it was like, that was such a revelatory moment for me because I realized so much, if not all of my decision making was I had to wait and hear the perfect word. I was a soldier, not a daughter. I got a command from the Lord and I couldn't move forward until I knew what my orders were. And I didn't know anything about being a daughter and that there's partnership with the Lord. And by the Lord actually comes and helps us make decisions by the wisdom. So often the Lord will lead us by our own desires and our own dreams. And so I just love to talk a little bit about that, just a life as a daughter, as a son, not as a servant. especially when it comes to making decisions.
Yeah. Well, here's the question: is like, does God want you to be a son and a daughter? Yes. Everyone would say yes. Like, okay. As you see yourself as a son and a daughter, what makes you happy and what would give you joy if you were really fulfilling that role? Maybe go do that.
Maybe go do that.
Maybe go do that, right? Instead
Well,
of going, okay, what miserable thing do you need me to do, Lord? Because that's probably the best indication that I'm in your will. Like, really?
yes, because if you're serving the Lord, if you're following him, he's only going to ask you to do things that you absolutely hate, because that's what a good parent does. I remember just going, wow. The Lord told me once, I was struggling over something, asking, I don't even remember what the thing was, but I just remember I was struggling and struggling and struggling. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, I'm a better mom than you think I am. And I remember it's like, if I'd heard I'm a better dad, I would have been, yeah, and bypassed it. But when he said I'm a better mom, it was like, first of all, it sounds so like I'm gonna probably get burned at the stake. But he's like, I'm a mom because mom is in me. I created man and woman, father and mother, brother and sister, and all this. He says, all those are in me. And he said, the nurturing and the love that you have for your children, where did that come from? That came from me.
Yeah.
That's not just a female trait, that is a God trait. And I remember it just blowing my mind, going, oh, what you're saying is that if I care so much for my children, how much more do you care for my children? How much more do you care for me? And so I love how the Lord will say things sometimes that just upends you enough to make you pause and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do things so backwards. And it was one of the
They're
reasons
very true. Yeah.
decision. Okay, please
So
go on.
I will add this. Does it mean that God never asked me to do things that I don't really always enjoy and that are outside my comfort zone? Well, absolutely not. But my mistake, if I move forward into that, my mistake is typically trying to do it outside of the anointing and partnership.
Yes, yes.
Right. Then I made a mistake. Right. It's like, so for example, in leadership, I was complaining once to God about all the people I had to help and who couldn't do it on their own. And It's like, why do I have to figure it out on my own and then explain it to you, or even maybe even do it for you because you can't figure it out and do it on yours? Does that make sense? I was like, and God asked me, he's like, oh, yeah, that's tough. Would you like to be the person who can help or the person who needs help?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, no, never mind.
Yeah.
But there was a missing ingredient in that, and the missing ingredient was, yes, if God's gifted me with certain skill sets and leadership, whatever, there's things that I need to do, right? But I was never supposed to do it outside the anointing,
Yes.
right? God told me once very clearly, he says, there is nothing that falls on your bare shoulders.
Wow.
Okay. Like, so that's part of divine flow then is, you know, to understand who I am and operate from identity, right? To understand that I need to operate from a place of authority. So I can't operate and I must, I should,
Mm-hmm.
because then I'm letting the problem or the situation be in charge. And a very interesting one is there's in the kingdom, there's a certain emotion of effortlessness. So what does that mean? Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. But there's labor to enter into rest because it's not the default. So what I tell people is, look, I go, change your relationship with frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Problem frustrates you, what to do frustrates you. It's like, okay, maybe most people take the emotion of frustration. They say, well, that means I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if I have what it takes to fix it. But I guess I just have to move forward with the same mindset and approach. Well, maybe frustration is like, hey, ding, 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 ding. It's the emotional indicator that you've stepped out of the kingdom.
So good. Yes.
And you need to change what you believe is possible, what you believe you could do, and go, okay, stop. How could it be easy? how could I do this, but in the kingdom? How could I do it in the anointing? Right. And then what happens is people get like kind of get hyper focused on the problem because they think that's responsible. It's like, no, stop. This is what the hyper focus is what an orphan does.
Yeah.
The son or daughter goes, you know what? Even changing my physiology, you know what? It's gonna be fine. And as I look around, I'm like, oh, wait a second. I could do that. I don't even didn't even think about that. Right. So
Yeah.
it's like, can you learn to allow to be grateful for that emotion of frustration because it's a reminder. It's like, hello, like stop.
Yes.
Stop. Jerry Savelle taught me, look, when I have a problem in my church, step number one, I go fishing.
I love that. Yes.
What did he say? Tranquility breeds creativity. Tranquility breeds creativity. When we're talking about creativity, we're talking about making good decisions and solving problems. He goes, people will look at that and go, you're being irresponsible and going fishing when you have a problem. He's like, no, I can hear from the Spirit of God sitting on my fishing boat, not sitting in my office being quote unquote responsible by worrying about it. I mean, that's really what people want you to do is you should worry about it and be stressed. Then you're being responsible. It's like, no, then I'm acting like an orphan.
Yeah.
Right.
I did.
So one thing I often have to say and speak because the words I speak have creative power. I have to say, and I first engage the physiology. You know what? I'm super comfortable with uncertainty and unpredictability. As God works, and sometimes I'll imagine myself drinking a cup of coffee, sitting on a beautiful rocking chair on a covered deck, overlooking life, and seeing things being rearranged and fixed for me.
So
Some I didn't know what could be fixed. Others that I didn't even ask. Like, oh, look at that. That's shifting for me. This is showing up. The right person coming into my child's life to speak words to them that
yes.
they could hear from that person, but not even from me. Oh, thank you for sending. Okay, wow. I didn't even think of that. That's awesome. So I sit here drinking my cup of coffee, just relax. There's still chaos, but you know what? Here's a question for everybody. What has more raw, untapped potential? 5 boring sequential steps or chaos?
That's so good.
Yeah, the chaos, man. This is a mess. So as a son, I can look at the chaos and go, "Oh, this is going to turn out amazing. I can't wait to." Well, what are you going to do? I'm not the fixer, but I'm observing and attaching my faith to it. Like, wow, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see how this looks in here because the divine process takes these. Here's a word for you: abstraction. What's that? That's the divine process. What does it mean? God's process of taking seemingly broken and disconnected things and bringing them together by divine order and timing to create something extraordinary. I can only receive abstraction as a son. I can't earn it or force it as an orphan.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Right. So it's a different energy, attitude, emotion of like, oh, it's all working out.
That's
Watch.
so good. I
But
love
how? No idea. But it's going to be amazing.
I love that you use even frustration because that's something every single person experiences across the board. And it's
Yeah.
an excellent indication if you're feeling frustrated. It's an indication. It's like X marks the spot on the map. God is coming here. And a lot of times, like you were saying in the very beginning, our brain is kind of wired to protect us. But if we would lean into why am I angry? Why am I triggered? Why am I afraid? Why am I frustrated? And lean into that trigger, that's like, oh, this is because this is an area that God is after, and I am fully capable to partner with Him because I literally walk as one with the divine Himself, and He's with us. I think that is one of the things that people have struggled so much with, especially Christians. I can remember, this is so funny to me. I got saved when I was 21 years old. As a Christian, I was raised in a Christian home my whole life. I had no problem making decisions. I decided something I wanted to do and I just did it. Decided where I wanted to go and just went. I just had no problems. And then I got radically saved and I could hardly make a decision on what clothes to put on. I mean, it was just like in me, everything was, I got to please him. I got to do, and it was like, it took me years to unravel all this religious thinking that I was now incapable of making a decision until I heard from heaven. And it was because I wasn't anchored in knowing, one, that I wasn't a slave, that I was a daughter, but two, that wisdom himself has gifted to me. And we can't work for wisdom. We receive it as a gift. I can't work for direction. I receive it as not only a gift, but it's one he's already given. It's one I don't even have to ask for. God, would you possibly come and give me wisdom? He's already said, I've stored wisdom for you. And I love the layers of breakthrough. And one of the things you're talking about is using your emotions as to indicators. And so and you mentioned this with physiology. And let me just ask one more question. Let me open up my notes really quickly. Something that you mentioned, you integrate faith with the physiology decision making. How do our beliefs about abundance or solutions influence what our brain is even able to perceive? And why does putting on a calm, confident physiology matter? Making better decisions. And before you answer that, let me just say this. I used to have tons of students coming at the end of year because, we would here in Reading, we have our Bethel School Supernatural Ministry. And towards the end of the year, people are having to make decisions. And all of a sudden, it's like they have history of making great decisions their whole life. And suddenly they cannot make a decision on whether or not they should do third year or whether they should do second year or whether they should go home. And I realized they're picking up on the atmosphere of 2,000 people asking the same question. And my advice was usually go watch a movie, go get a cup of coffee and take a walk and stop asking that question. Instead, just go knowing. And I can just remember how many people would come back going, I just went and took a walk and all of a sudden it was the easiest thing. And so tell us a little bit about this process and then how that we can actually implement that even today.
Yeah. Well, here it's so interesting, the story I'm reminded of is, when we first met each other, I was going to Rhema and I met my wife and I'm like, while I was attending Rhema Bridal Training Center, my wife didn't go there, but, but I'm like, oh man, I'm falling for this girl and this is awesome. But, my wife is 9.5 years younger than I am. And I'm like, either this is the best thing ever, or I'm about to make a stunningly poor decision.
Yeah.
So my emotions, which don't get to tell me what I'm worth or tell me my future, were all over the place.
Wow.
And if I had said, I have no idea what to do, that would have been an accurate description of the emotions that I had and the thoughts going through my brain. But I had just learned this, thank God, at school. And I kept on pushing my faith out in front of me. I'll make a beautiful decision.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what I didn't know at the time is that in many circumstances, most Christians bring a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah.
What do I mean? So first of all, they have these negative emotions or lack of clarity, and they let that tell them what they're worth. Right.
Mhm.
And so then they feel even worse. Right. Then they allow the bad emotions that they have to inform their physiology, how they're standing, moving, breathing. Like, oh, I can see you across the room. You look like you're having a bad day. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You look like you have no idea what to do. Right? And the problem is now my physical body, instead of being an asset, which God designed it to be, is a huge liability because now my physical body is producing literal biochemistry to support the emotion that is indicated by my countenance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then I'm going to come along and try and be positive. I'm going to have these puny effort to have good emotions, and I'm battling the wrong identity, the wrong emotions, the wrong physiology, and the wrong biochemistry, and I'm going to get my butt handed to me. And in complete failure and defeat, I'm going to experience even more shame.
Yeah.
Right? So how much better to first, if there's a negative emotion, go, oh, that's an interesting emotion. Normal. Interesting. Thanks for showing up. No, you don't stay around very long, so I don't let that inform me. But what I do is I by faith, faith is an act. By faith, I put on countenance physiology that is directly in alignment with being confident. Like, hey, literal scientific research, you stand like Superman, Superwoman,
Yeah. Yeah.
boom, your hormones in your body change like that.
Yeah. Can you do the Superman pose for us so we like know?
Yeah. So the Superman is like you standing, think of Superwoman. If you look at Superwoman, are you like she's lacking confidence? You're like, "Oh no. That woman is like bring it." Right? Shoulders back, head up, breathing deep, right? It's like I'm using my physical body to tell my nervous system there's not actually any danger at the moment,
That's so good. That's so
right? So now I have the physiology starting to pump
yeah.
out biochemistry, right?
Hmm.
Now the emotions start to show up of like, you know what, I think we can handle this, right? Now in that context, I start speaking the truth. Oh, I make beautiful decisions. Watch, it's going to be, does that make sense? Now I'm bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah.
They're going to start. So I taught this to a client who had 200 beat per minute heart rate anxiety attacks. Like I
Yeah.
know a lot of people watching this may be stressed about decisions. Like, okay, is your heart rate 200 and you're in the emergency room? No. Okay. She texted me one day. She's like, I think I'm about to have a panic attack. By the way, what's the biggest trigger for a panic attack? The fear that you might have a panic attack.
Oh wow.
And that having a panic attack will put shame on you because it will get to tell you that you're worthless.
Wow. And you should be able to handle this. And wow.
Right. So
So
she texted
good.
me. I'm like, look, I have compassion on you, but you need to change your physiology radically and do it now. Standing, moving, singing, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And she texted me back later. She goes, oh my God, like that worked. I'm like, yes, it worked. Right.
That's so
So the the other thing I want to tell you is it's very helpful to understand really how your brain works and to really, really hardcore question your version of reality. What do I mean by that? So your brain has to process an epic amount of information.
mhm.
To survive, your brain makes shortcuts. Okay. Life is, I am, people are. So the information comes in, your brain compares it against your subconscious beliefs. Life is, I am, people are. If it doesn't match it, it will ignore it or pervert it to match it. Now, here's how crazy this is. Some people's brain doesn't make shortcuts. If your brain didn't make shortcut and tomorrow you're like, oh, we need to have coffee to talk about whatever of school, I'm like, cool, I'm there. But I shave my beard before I show up at Starbucks. Guess what? You wouldn't even recognize me. Literally, there's people like that. And that sounds funny to us. Why does that sound funny? Because your brain makes shortcuts.
Yeah.
Right. So here's two examples. They did a study on this and they asked for people who thought they were lucky, people who thought they were unlucky. Maybe we can say people who think and act like orphans,
Yes.
people who think and act like sons and daughters, right? So they said, hey, Connie, thanks for participating in the study. It's very simple, really. We would like you to read this newspaper, flip through this newspaper. As you flip through it, all we want you to do, count how many pictures are in the newspaper. You're like, I could do that. Well, what you don't know is I put in two additional things into the newspaper. One said, look, there's 43 pictures. You can just stop counting now. The other item said, congratulations, you have won $250. Now they asked for people who thought they were lucky, people who thought they were unlucky.
Yeah.
Only the lucky people saw either one of those things.
That's incredible.
Right. So you think you have an accurate version of life as I am, people are. No, it's because you continue to create and see and attract and whatever that version, right? I saw this with a coaching client who um, she didn't think that people valued her
Hmm.
or wanted to be in a relationship with her. And guess what? She didn't have very many friends,
Yeah.
which confirmed that people didn't value her or want relationship with her. And she started coming to church with me, and my wife had a relationship with her. My wife introduced her to many people. One Sunday, I'm staying next to this person after church, and 3 separate people walk up to her. They acknowledge her, they affirm her, they invite her into a deeper relationship. Connie, how are you, man? It's great to see you. You are amazing. We should have coffee sometime, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had lunch with her 20 minutes later. You know what she says to me? You know, it's really hard to make connections with people at that church.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
So, so do you have an expectation? Oh, there's a beautiful future.
Yeah.
There's a solution to this. I make beautiful decisions. Do I let it inform my physiology, spirit, soul, and body as everything working together, right, to help me move forward, to handle things, to solve problems, to take the promised land, right?
It's so good. So, okay, well, as we could talk about this for days. This is just one of my favorite things to talk about. So much freedom and so much life that covers every area of your life. And so, just as you know, as we're wrapping up, leaving people with this. So, taking the importance of renewing our mind. It's not. It's not an additional. It's like part of your package of salvation. You also, get to renew your mind, but it's paramount. It's paramount that we renew our mind according to the word of God. And so how do people let's just say that there's people on here that I'm looking around in my life and I don't see victory in any area of my life, let alone to be able to make a decision about my spouse and my children and my future and
Sure.
all things. Where do they go to start? Like, okay, I'm handing you the manual. What is chapter 1 so I can start today?
Yeah. So we're gonna go like what has the most scientific backing. Actually, this is going to be my answer for you. Okay, so when people experience trauma and unresolved disappointment, unfortunately, it rewires their brain for depression and anxiety because they go, why did that happen? And they start, in order to protect themselves, in order to get peace, that might give them understanding, which might get peace so they can move forward, right? Unresolved disappointment sits in a place where your heart, where faith is supposed to occupy, right? What by operating that loop, they will rewire their brain so their brain will only look for the problems or what you're not doing perfectly. It will ignore everything good. So one of the practical things to do is to take pen and paper. Don't do it digitally. Don't just think about it. Take pen and paper, start writing out what is there good in my life. And sometimes people do that, but they skip this next one. What have I done well?
So good.
Right. And so what you're going to start doing is you're going to start training your brain on what it looks for, what it celebrates, what it seeks out. Right? Because most people what you that what you just described would be like someone for example, we go golfing. You're an amazing golfer and you notice I have a really really good swing and I hit the ball super straight right into the sand trap every single time. And you go, well, this is just weird. He's a beautiful swing. He hits the ball super far, straight every single time in the sand trap. And you're like, Steve, I'm actually slightly embarrassed this question, but we've been played so many rounds of golf. Are you even looking at the tee? I'm like, oh no, I hate the sand trap. I hate that sand trap. Oh, it's just so embarrassing when I get in the sand trap. You're like, okay. You're looking at the sand trap when you hit the golf ball. Yeah, I'm always focused on that sand trap. The lack, the problem, my mistakes. like you're like, okay, stop. I shouldn't have not have had to told you this, but you got to be hyper focused on where you are going.
So good. It's so
Or you're like, oh my god, that worked. Yeah, it worked. It's like, you know, it's just realize most people have experienced trauma. Most people have never been taught how to deal with the disappointment. And so the vast majority of people have rewired their brains for depression and anxiety to be hyper focused on problems and their shortcomings. And solutions, again, could be walking past them all the time. They would never see it because they don't believe it's possible. And spirit, soul, body, their brain is literally filtering it out as if it never happened. Right.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you so much. It's so insightful. I love listening to you speak and teach. Um, you also do something where people could find you. So if somebody was like, I would like to hear a little bit more about what he's talking about, where could they just Google to find you?
So one of the really simple ways, my wife's name is Samara, Samara. And if you go to StephenandSamara.com, it's a link tree, is my coaching website, different, whatever. There's a lot of different stuff there, whatever we're having to be involved at the moment. What my wife is doing, I'll add that there, all sorts of stuff. So that's the simplest way right there.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for being on here.
You're
And
welcome. This was super fun. So
to all of you guys on here, that faith-filled decision making is your portion. It is your portion. Healthy, happy relationships, it's your portion. Strong body, the ability to co-labor with the Lord and move forward into victory in every area of your life, that belongs to you. Jesus purchased that for you. And so we're just releasing the grace and all these wonderful things that Stephen is talking about now, that just, Steve, why don't you just release a blessing and pray?
absolutely. I was just thinking, like, yes, I'm going to do that. So I just declare that each and every person here, that there is that your palate, what you can taste and smell, is divinely renewed, and that where you never tasted and smelled guilt and shame, now you do. And you can't believe that you ever thought that way, allowed anything like that in your life. And I just declare that what was difficult in your life, if it used to be difficult to have confidence, difficult to make decisions, difficult to expect a beautiful future, I just declare that as you let God heal all the disappointment of the past, that you will easily and effortlessly return to your original design. And in this original design, what was difficult for you in life will become beautifully effortless.
Oh, I love that. Beautifully effortless. Well, bless you guys. Stephen, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you all for listening. And for those of you who will be listening later, send us your testimonies. Let us know what God is doing for you, and we will take those and release it to become a prophetic word for others. And remember, find somebody, go encourage them, and make sure that you are the top person on that list. Be the biggest, most profound prophetic voice of encouragement, and go after encouraging yourself. Thank you again. We will see you
Love
guys
it. Super
next week.
fun.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
We'll